Welcome Planeswalkers to the CollectorMania YouTube channel. My name is Eric Ward, and today we're doing the Dominaria deck tech for Valduk, Keeper of the Flame. If you haven't seen Valduk, he is a 3-2 for 2 and a red human shaman. At the beginning of combat on your turn, for each aura and equipment attached to Valduk, create a 3-1 red elemental with trample and haste, and then exile those at the next end step. So, really great here. Initially I built a deck that kind of included some auras. I've kind of scrapped that, and the thinking is if Valduk dies, which he likely will, those auras are going to fall off. We want the artifacts to remain on the field and not go to the graveyard. So an artifact or an equipment is better than an aura in that regard. So we're going to break into our Planeswalkers. Dreddy here, of course, got some really great abilities for kind of digging and like swapping artifacts in graveyard. And his emblem here is really strong, just making sure if anything does die, an artifact, we can get it back. Next, we have Koth, really strong here as well. Getting a mountain to swing with early game, or activating to give mountain mana essentially is really good. And his emblem. If you get a Koth emblem, your chances of winning go up considerably. Next, into creatures, Goblin Welder. Got a great ability to swap an artifact in play for one in your graveyard or somebody else's stuff too if they're running amok with something bad. Really good artifact to include here. Armory Automaton. Whenever he enters or attacks, you may attach any number of target equipment, so he can kind of suit up himself. Really great card. Brass Squire. Tap to attach target equipment to a creature you control. Really good for the higher equip cost artifacts we have here. Burnished Heart. Decent ramp spell. Perforos God of the Forge here, of course. Great for Valduk's like spawning of elementals, getting a bunch of 3/1s, dealing 2 damage equal to those creatures entering the battlefield. Can kill a board pretty quick. Solemn here for ramp and a draw. Volshok Battlemaster, one of my favorites. Similar to the Automaton, whenever he enters the battlefield, attach all equipments in play to it, including your opponent's stuff. So a really good way to kind of goof up another equipment Voltron build. Combustible Gear Hulk, sweet card for drawing, and maybe somebody will take the risk and get hit for a whole bunch of damage if they don't let you draw. Godo has got a great artifact search. Probably get your most expensive equipment, put it into play. The second half doesn't matter because there's not any samurais, that sort of thing, but decent card here for that artifact equipment tutor. Hellkite Tyrant. There is a chance to win with artifacts, I'd say, but even if you're hitting somebody else, stealing their artifacts and maybe equipping Valduk with those, and it's a flying defender, pretty good one. Molten Primordial, just to get something off everybody's board and swing for a turn. Into our artifacts, we have Basilisk's Collar, giving Death Touch and Lifelink, looking for quick plays like low cost, low equip, and some threatening abilities there. Bloodforged Battle Axe, of course. Whenever Valduk deals damage, you can make to a player, create a token of the Battle Axe, and then you can just equip and equip and equip and get more elementals. And if you have Double Strike or something on Valduk and he does connect with a player, you get 2 of these per turn and 2 more elementals on your next step. Elixir of Immortality, just for some graveyard reshuffling. Golem Skin Gauntlets, the +1/+0 for each equipment attached to Valduk. Infiltration Lens, decent card here. You don't have to deal damage, you just have to get blocked, which odds are as your commander will be, to draw 2 cards. Masterwork of Ingenuity, make a copy of equipment, even if you don't own it, and then start suiting Valduk up with maybe 2 of something awesome, or 1 of something you haven't drawn quite yet. Relic of Progenitus, just responsible graveyard management. Sensei's Top, again, digging through the top of your deck. Shuko, this one's really cool. 1 to play, +1/+0, and 0 to equip. You'll see a theme here in just a moment. Soul Ring, typical ramp. Black Blade Reforged, +1/+1 for each land you control, and a lower legendary equip cost. So 2 to play, 3 to equip, and then +1 for each land. Not bad. Bladed Pinions, flying in first strike, who can complain there? Hero's Blade, I love these artifacts that have these enter the battlefield on a creature cast. Whenever a legendary enters the battlefield under your control, you can equip the blade to it. So Valduk becomes a, 6/4, and it saves you 4 on the equip cost since he's legendary. Lightning Greaves. So if we remember the Shuko, both of these had a 0 equip. What you could do, turn 1, play Shuko, turn 2, play Lightning Greaves, turn 3, play Valduk, equip Shuko for free, equip Lightning Greaves for free. All of a sudden on turn 3, Valduk can swing. He spawns 2 elementals. You're swinging for 10 on turn 3. It's awesome. Really great combo. Of course, the Shroud is a little bit of a problem. You have to kind of bounce equipments back and forth. You'll see the Swift Foot Boots are in the deck as well, and those are a little bit of a better choice with Hexproof. Ruby Medallion. The whole cycle of medallions is great for any monocolored deck, just reducing the cost. Stronic Resonator for 2 and a tap. You can copy Valduk's at the beginning of combat on your turn trigger and get twice the number of elementals. Sundial the Infinite, you can end your turn after you've gone through combat and keep your elementals around. Swiftfoot Boots, of course, very similar, a little bit different cost to equip, but it gives hexproof, so you can keep your commander safe and equip all of your juicy equipments without having to bounce the boots back and forth. Sword of the Animus, +1/+1, and whenever he swings, get a land into play. Great consistent ramp. Thornbite Staff, another equipment with a creature entering the battlefield trigger. This time we're looking for shamans, and here you can see Valduk is a human shaman, so it'll save you another 4 on the equip cost, and you can, it's got a other ability at the top. Whenever a creature is put into graveyard from play, untap equip creature. So Valduk could untap when something dies. Champion's Helm, equipped creature gets +2/+2, and as long as his legendary has hexproof, so another good, like, keep your commander safe equipment. Commander Sphere, just for some ramp and potential draw if needed. Darksteel Plate, of course, 3 play, 2 equip for indestructible. Fire Shrieker, oh man, equipped creature gets double strike. This one can get out of hand quick. Great cast and equip. Kasuri Gama is one of my favorites. 3 cast, 3 equip. It's got a colorless fire breathing for +1/+0 for 2 colorless. And whenever equipped creature deals damage to blocking creature, Kasuri Gama deals that much damage to each other creature defending player controls. So let's say Valduk's even like a 6/6. And let's say he doesn't have first strike or double strike or something, hits the blocker, deals damage to all other creatures that player defends, and maybe wipes their board. If you do have first strike, you would hit first. Odds are you're swinging with all of your elementals as well, and all of a sudden there are no defenders or 0 toughness blockers against all of those trampling elementals, and you could probably kill somebody with this equipment. Next, Loxodon Warhammer, just some extra power, trample, and lifelink. Pinion Blade, +1/+1 for each creature you control, so pretty mundane if Valduk's on the board by himself, but if he's suited up, you could spawn a whole bunch of elementals and then pump Valduk equal to that number. Sculpting Steel, of course, just to get an artifact that you don't have, or maybe a copy of something that you do, and include for any artifact deck. Sword of Vengeance, +2/+0, and Keyword Soup, really great, especially Trample and First Strike and Haste, really awesome card. Tenza Godo's Maul is one of my favorite. 3 cost, 1 to equip. Equipped creature gets +1/+1, and as long as it's a legendary, it gets an additional +2/+2 and has Trample if it's red. So Valduk would be a 6/5 Trampler that spawns elementals. A great include here, suggested by one of our viewers, Dragon Throne of Tarkir, for 4 cost, 3 equip. Equipped creature has Defender, which is kind of a bummer, but not too bad. Pay 2 tap, other creatures you control gain Trample, and +X/+X, where that is that creature's power. So if Valduk's suited up and sitting on the throne, you can swing with all of your elementals, pay 2 and tap, and all of a sudden you've got, Valduk's power added to all of your trampling elementals. A game finisher here. Gauntlet of Might, just to get us some extra mana from our mountains, and pump our elementals to 4/2s. Grappling Hook, another great source of double strike on an equipment, and if somebody's got something like a Seedborn Muse or something they don't want to swing with, you can make them block. Really good card. Hammer of Nazan, my goodness, this card is insane. 4 cost, 4 equip. When it or another equipment enters the battlefield under you control, you may attach equipment to a creature. So you're just playing your artifacts and getting free equips. And it gets +2/+0 and indestructible. If it needed to say any more, it still does. Helm of the Host, another new one from Dominaria. At the beginning of combat on your turn, create a token that's a copy of equipped creature, except it's not legendary, and it gains haste. So, on the first turn, if it's on Valduk, you get a copy. You've already missed your second set of 3/1 elemental triggers, but on your next combat, you could maybe suit the mini Valduk up a bit and give him some elementals as well. Batterskull, of course, it's a living weapon, so it's a body. If Valduk's too expensive or something, you can just cast Batterskull and have a 4/4 Vigilance lifelinker. And of course, it's a great include on Valduk. Blinkmoth Urn for 5. You get at the beginning of your each player's pre-combat main phase. If the urn is untapped, target player adds, or that player adds colorless to the mana pool for each artifact they control. So if you've got 10 equipments and Valduk has just died, now you've got 10 mana to replay Valduk and equip some of those equipments. An awesome card. Of course, it can help your opponents, but if you're prepared for that and they aren't, it's a benefit to you. Gauntlet of Power, similar to Gauntlet of Might, and a lot more affordable and accessible. Another way to make your mountains tap and give your elementals plus. Staff of Nin, of course, for drawing extra cards and maybe pinging a Planeswalker. Of course, Darksteel Forge to keep all of our equipments in play. And into enchantments, we have Aggravated Assault, 3 and 2 red to untap. So imagine getting a bunch of elementals on one of your combat steps, getting a second one and going to get more elementals and swinging with them every turn. Pretty much 5 mana gets you a bunch of elementals and extra combat steps. Amazing. Pia's Revolution, a great way to kind of hold the game hostage. If somebody's looking to blow up all of your artifacts, you can say, okay, go ahead, but somebody's got to pay 3 damage or I get them right back. Shared Animosity here. At the beginning of a combat, you make a bunch of 3/1 elementals. Then you swing with them. Let's say you've got 10 of them. All of those elementals see each other. They all swing for +10/+0. Really great way to finish the game. Into our instance, Comet Storm, an awesome finisher here with the multi-kicker. Just dumping even a meager amount of mana into this spell can kill everybody sometimes. Chaos Warp. Red has some troubles with dealing with stuff that's already in play, especially if it's like safe or whatever, or indestructible or something, so you can just put it in their library and give them something else. Reiterate, great way to buy back something, even if it's like a simple ramp spell, just to get you ahead, or if it's something disgusting like a Cyclonic Rift or, who knows, a counter spell that might win somebody else the game, you can double down and get a copy of it and buy the spell back. Radiate, man, this card can cause some trouble for people. If somebody goes for a path or destruction spell, all of a sudden they're blowing up every legal target, so awesome include for red. Word of Seizing. Who can argue with Split Second? And you can gain control of a permanent. So you could even get like a Planeswalker or something with this and really run havoc or wreak havoc on somebody's board. Into sorceries, we have Banefire. Good way to finish maybe a single player. The uncounterable makes it hard to deal with. Gamble, of course. Red doesn't have very many great tutors, and this one isn't great, but it's what we got, and it's a lot of fun. I'd probably go get a Blinkmoth Urn right away, or maybe a Planeswalker, or a really like bomb equipment or something. But of course, there's a risk to lose it. That's why we'd have like Goblin Welder or Deretti in play. Mana Geyser, of course, if it's turn 5 and there's no land on the horizon, you gain a red for everybody's tapped mana. So if they're all tapped out too, trying to fuel their game on turn 4 or something, or turn 5, all of a sudden you might have like 12 or 15 mana to use. Reforges the Soul, great for the miracle cost to redraw your hand, and then if somebody's sitting on a really pesky hand, you can make them discard it. Scrap Mastery, you essentially exile all artifacts in graveyards, and then sacrifice artifacts in play, and return the ones from a graveyard into play. So, cool way to kind of, puke out your graveyard if you've lost all your good stuff and you need to rebuild. And of course, Blasphemous Act. This spell should never cost more than like 3 to deal 13 damage to the board. Into lands, we have Buried Ruin, just for that sacrifice ability to get target artifact from graveyard to hand. Contested Warzone I thought was kind of curious. Normally this card's kind of odd. Essentially when a creature deals combat damage to you, that creature gains control of it. But if we just throw this down, pay 1 and tap it, attacking creatures get +1/+0. If you can swing with 4/1 elementals and somebody else gets this back, like once they deal damage to that guy, it's not a huge deal. Hall of the Bandit Lord, one of my favorites. Pay 3 life, which is a little steep, and it does come in tapped, but if you play this on turns 1 or 2, you can get Valduk in on turn 3 with haste, essentially. If you pay the 1 mana generated to play Valduk, he's got haste. Homeward Path, the worst thing that could possibly happen is suiting up your commander and then getting him stolen. So what you want to do is just get him back, and you don't have to re-equip to something else. You just get everybody's stuff back to their correct owners. Myriad Landscape is awesome for single colored decks. Sacrifice it, get 2 lands into play, tapped, and shuffle. Recent reprint in Masters 25. If you like playing monocolored decks like I do, pick up some copies. Reliquary Tower, of course, no maximum hand size. Shinka, the Bloodsoaked Keep. Kind of similar as far as a land that can give our commander a keyword. Target legendary creature gains first strike until end of turn. Spinerock Knoll, hideaway lands are pretty good. This one is probably like the 3rd easiest to activate, but still decent and very attainable with a bunch of 3/1 elementals with trample. An opponent has to take 7 and you get a free spell. Valakut, of course. If you're running red, you want your mountains to deal 3. So get a whole bunch of mountains, which you likely will, and start bolting people every time you play a land. And some mountains to round things out. So that is the deck there, guys. Hope you enjoyed it. If you have any includes that you think should go in a Valduk build, type them in the comments below. And of course, if you liked us, like, subscribe, that sort of thing. Stay tuned. We'll see you for more Dominaria deck techs.